Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Esteem FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. My name is Tanay All, and I'm an anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry veterans to come together to share their knowledge, ideas, thoughts, and best practices with one another, as well as with upcoming future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi decadal learnings of all our industry stalwarts. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone, right? They help us to identify, nurture, and work on trade secrets that have already proven a success formula for so many. And this is what we aim for with these sessions by making them a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge sharing community. We have one such industry heavyweight on FaceTime with leaders with us today, Miss Rachna Prasad. We welcome you on the show, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tanay.
She carries expertise and knowledge baked over 2.5 decades of comprehensive experience in both B2B and B2C domains. Her journey reflects multifaceted expertise in traditional and digital marketing, showcasing proficiency in GTM strategy, media buying, product launches, celebrity endorsements, events, award marketing, and public relations. Currently serving as a fractional CMO for three startups in the B2B space, Prasad's strategic acumen is instrumental in shaping and executing effective marketing menus for emerging businesses. Additionally, as a mentor on the panel of Ivy Cap Ventures and part of the executive committee of the Warehousing Association of India, she displays a commitment to fostering innovation and industry collaboration. Moreover, her involvement with Niti Aayog's ATAL innovation mission highlights her dedication to promoting positive change and growth within the entrepreneurial landscape. So, Ms. Prasad, could you provide an overview of your journey from your early career at Bennett Coleman to your current role as the founder of The Outside Edge?
Sure. I think putting that down in 3 decades of experience, which has been, I would say, a meandering experience, so to speak. When I set out my career, it was immediately after my post graduation from Delhi University. I was very unclear what I wanted to do in life at that point in time. And there was an ad which came out in the newspaper, and I just joined Bennett Coleman. So that's how I joined Bennett Coleman. And joined them in the space selling department, which was called Response. And I worked with them for around 4 years. And then I stumbled upon a role in Ogilvy, which was immediately after my daughter's birth. I had taken up this role at Ogilvy, which is where I learned the tools of marketing, and I got really excited about marketing, and which is when I decided I think I want to be a marketer, right? So marketing to me is more like serendipity rather than, it was a planned move. It wasn't planned at all. And I was just taking whatever was coming my way, and I found myself to be working for brands like Nestle and UNICEF and Manpower Consulting, American Express. So servicing these accounts in Ogilvy, and that became my learning ground, so to speak, on the job training. I also realized during the course of time that if I really want to build my career in this, then I need to do my MBA. So I took up an executive MBA course at XLRI, and I started honing myself to become a marketer, a full stack marketer. So in Ogilvy, at that point in time, we were still learning. Digital was very new. It wasn't really, it was just web banners and stuff like that. But I think uh, Ogilvy taught me the fundamentals of marketing, and as a traditional marketer, how do you arrive at a big idea? How do you ensure that you do 360-degree marketing? How do you drive outcomes? How do you measure those outcomes? What are the different tenets of marketing? So it exposed me to a whole lot of that stuff. And then over a period of time, along with my executive MBA, I moved on to take on other roles which were in American Express, MetLife, etc., etc. Till 2013 happened, and I took a plunge into the startup world. And the reason I took a plunge is also very interesting because I was a very sound traditional marketer. I knew everything about traditional marketing, but digital was now gaining a lot of steam. And I had no clue about how digital worked. As in, I understood it theoretically, but did not, I was not a practitioner. I was more traditional marketer. So I started applying for jobs in digital, and people would turn around and say, by which time I'd already got around 10 to 15 years of experience, and people would say, hey, you haven't done digital. How do we make a team report to you who knows the job and you don't, right? So, for example, if somebody came to you with an idea on how to drive search engine optimization, till you know what levers to pull, how would you essentially work on that? And which led me to think, man, I really need to get into some place where I can really do it, get my hands dirty and do it. Which is when I thought, let's move to the startup world, because that's where my experience so far would be of great value. And yet it will also give me an open canvas to play with a lot of things and learn things that I don't really necessarily have, and which made me join the startup world. So I started with the role of a CMO with Oxygen, which was a mobile wallet company, and I was part of the founding team, which was driving their launch and sustenance strategy. And then moved on to SaaS world, which was in 2018. I moved to SaaS marketing, which was B2B. So from B2C, I moved completely to B2B. And people wonder as to why I make that change. But I think that was one of the best decisions I took, because I knew traditional, I learned digital on in the wallet space, B2C, domain. And then I thought, when I moved to B2B, I thought, how different will it be? You know, but I actually realized that it's a completely different toolkit when you are essentially going into B2B. So it now, I when I look back at my career, I look at myself as being a very well-rounded marketer, and it's all happened by chance rather than by design, to be honest. And today I'm a fractional CMO, and that's actually, I'm a year old into this venture, which is my own venture now. I am a founding I'm a founder of a company called the Outside Edge, which essentially helps Series A kind of startups who want to scale, do not necessarily have a team, or have teams which is not very well stitched together. They cannot afford a CMO, and they want somebody like me who has a very vast knowledge to be able to stitch teams together and drive the marketing agenda. So that's how I've started. And when I wrote this, I think now I have around 4 5 customers, clients in my portfolio, and primarily combination, again, more of B2B now, because I enjoy doing B2B more than B2C. But so that's how it has my journey has been.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Ma'am, what motivated you to transition into the role of fractional CMO and venture into entrepreneurship by starting the Outside Edge?
So I think this was already there in my mind,
Hmm.
uh, for a while now. I would say around 2 to 3 years back, I would say, okay, now what next? Because as a professional, you keep asking that question to yourself,
Yeah.
which is, what more can I do, right? And I identified, because I was working for a company which was a portfolio company of Ivy Cap. I got exposed to the Ivy Cap team, and I realized that a lot of their customers, a lot of their portfolio companies needed a lot of help in marketing.
Hmm.
And it kind of gave me, it kind of triggered a thought saying, hey, what if I were to help, transition into that role? But I was not ready. While it was a thought, it was not ready. And then there was a personal development that happened at home, and which accelerated my need to start doing something of my own, because there was I needed more flexibility in my life. I
Hmm.
had additional responsibilities that came on my shoulders, which required me to get into a mode where I have flexibility became a very important currency. So I said, okay, maybe this is the universe's guidance to start what I had planned immediately. And it so happened that I went and spoke with my leader in my erstwhile company, and I said, look, I'm planning to do this. And he said, why don't I become your first client? So, and then things happened. So I guess a combination of many things really
Yeah.
led to this.
Ma'am, what are some values and principles you have always lived by and that you consider to be the basis of your professional success?
Okay, so I think the first thing is, there is no age to learn. Okay, so you can never come back, and especially more than now, more than ever before, you
Yeah.
can never come back and say, oh, I'm an expert at so and so, because the world is changing. Like, there's every time there is some new skill that you can actually take on, and each skill is very handy, right? So that's the first piece, and that's how my journey has been. Whatever I've told you, I started with space selling, moved into marketing, did my MBA on the fly, then learned digital marketing on the job, then move to B2B. And even today, right now, I'm trying to take up a course with, Directors Institute. And I'm constantly learning. There's so many tools that have come up now, which makes marketing much easier, right?
Yeah, yeah.
From a Martech perspective, and sorry, AI tools, etc., etc. So you have to be constantly learning. That's the first principle. You are
Yeah.
never really good. Uh, the second thing that I would say is that it's always good to plan things, but sometimes you should have the agility to take a decision based on um, the situation that is there at that point in time, right? The reason I'm saying this is, again, going back to my career experience. If I had not taken up that plunge to join the startup world at that point in time, I would not have been where I am today. In all probability, by now I would have been a fossil, because the MNC world would not have betted on me because I didn't know digital, right? So I personally feel that you should keep taking risks and keep pushing the envelope on yourself all the time. Get out of comfort zone, keep trying doing new things, because you can't afford to say, oh, I'm an expert at this and I'll continue for the rest of my life doing this, so
Yeah.
that's the second piece that I would say is been my biggest learning, and this biggest advice that I'll give to people. Third, of course, is, I think it's a byproduct of both these things, which is stay humble. Don't get too serious about your designation and your role.
Yeah.
Keep learning. Yeah.
Ma'am, how and when did you develop an interest in ESG and corporate governance?
So I think when I took off, I so two things. ESG kind of I'd never heard of ESG till, I'll be honest with you, 1.5 years back. Okay, I learned about it when started working very closely with Ivy Cap team, because they have a in their portfolio company. In order to work with their portfolio company, they have a separate team which is the ESG team. And I'm also a part of the moderator for the Ivy Cap Day and stuff like that. And I realized that the whole lot of focus that's essentially there, it's very futuristic. Every organization has to be ESG compliant.
Yeah.
uh, this is something which is a future requirement, and hence that got me interested. The second thing on corporate governance is, again, what next. I wanted to get onto the board of different organizations, bring my experience and learn from that board itself, learn from what's happening there. So it's like my own methodology of upskilling myself and constantly trying to do something which is new and exposes me to a completely different thing, is something which was there. I think I also corporate governance is something that I would say the seeds of corporate governance also got sown when during my years in Amex, which is a very highly compliant company, right? MNC, but very compliant. And I actually understood how diligent they were about compliance, and adoption of compliance. So something as simple as your reimbursement bills also, you have to be so particular about how you present it, and you don't fake it, and high on integrity and things like that. So I always thought that this is something which is actually fundamental to success as a corporate. We keep reading about so many things that happen in boards and stuff like that. So I guess it's just been a combination of many things that came together.
Yeah.
Right.
Ma'am, as an ESG and corporate governance expert, what values do you bring to the table?
Well, the value would be to be able to give an independent view on things, which are very objective view on a situation, based on the best practices, based on the learnings that I have and the exposure that I have. I think I can only dip into the vast network of people that I interact with to understand what's happening, and hence how is it that I can actually implement that or guide a board with respect to navigating through some situations and stuff like that, or being very conscious of how we can ensure that we don't tip the line on something which requires ESG and corporate governance compliance. So that's the value. I think experience, my network, my understanding, my exposure, those are things that I would like to bring in. I'm also a person who's very, very high on integrity. So consciously, I want to do something which is right for the organization. So I think that moral compass will always come to play there.
Yeah. Ma'am, what are some of the most remarkable changes you have seen in your field with respect to changes in technology, and what changes do you expect to see in the future with the advent of all these new technologies like IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, Web 3.0, etc.?
I think the world is changing at the speed of, minutes, if you were to ask me,
Yeah.
especially marketing. I remember when I first got into digital,
Hmm.
Martech as a space, we just heard about a handful of Martech companies. Salesforce was doing something, HubSpot was not as big as this. And then suddenly I started following a Martech expert on LinkedIn, and he would publish an annual report on all the new Martech tools that have entered the market. And that entire circle just kept expanding and expanding and expanding. And for every pain point, there was a solution which marketers now have, right? So I think what used to take maybe 1 year is now happening in a month.
Yeah.
That's the speed of change that's happening. In fact, hours. Look at the way ChatGPT has completely thrown the whole world inside out. Now you have ChatGPT is also like passe. You have new tools now available, and which is what I feel that you have to be constantly abreast with what are the new tools that are happening, right? And I personally feel I was recently in an Ivy Cap day. I was moderating a panel on the role of AI, especially in India, and how is it driving business strategy. And I was amazed that it's not about products, like companies or startups making solving real time issues with AI products. Even organizations which are not into products, who are into services, who are into manufacturing, who are into process optimization, etc., etc. AI is becoming a is become a part and parcel of the entire uh, value chain, no matter what kind of organization you are. So people are using AI for their process optimization, for supply chain optimization, for manufacturing automation. So it's not just about third party products. Even within the organization, I may be a manufacturing company and I'm using AI to just optimize a certain process within the organization, right? So everything is automated. Everything is things that were completely unthinkable is being done. In fact, there's a startup that I essentially help, which is into drone technology, and I was just fascinated by how AI is doing things um, within 2 hours what would have otherwise taken maybe 2 months with respect to drone surveys, right? So and giving you actionable insights for a
Yeah.
person to be able to make immediate checks and stuff like that. So I guess we are just in a very very fascinating period. Having said that, it comes with its own caveat. How do we use it judiciously? How do we use it rightly? Like many people say that, how much of ChatGPT should a marketer use? I
Yeah.
personally feel that we should leverage its strengths to make things faster rather than depend
True.
completely on it. So that's all.
Ma'am, we're building a community here of industry magnates. The move is meant for cross-pollination of knowledge and building a knowledge-sharing community of corporate giants and industry experts. What
Sure.
are your thoughts about this initiative taken by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Heval Mehta, and the whole World Development Corporation team?
Very good. I mean, it's like a no brainer, right? I mean, if you can have a community which is thriving, because of dipping into each other's expertise and bringing out a larger good for the world at large, for the corporate community at large, why not? That's why so many of these schools are flourishing, right? Because of the alumni network. Now it's great to be a part of an alumni. Great to be an alum of an institute which is also which is beyond your college or university, and it's about an alum of very very high powered and talented professionals. Great initiative, I think.
Great, ma'am. It was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that your insights will truly inspire future leaders. Thank you so much for joining us today and wish you the best for your future endeavors. Moreover, trust that this initiative by Directors Institute unquestionably has expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Tanay.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.